Have you ever had lights flicker at the perfect moment? Or have you ever seen lights twinkling in your peripheral vision, but when you go to look at them, you can't seem to find them? These lights could be carrying a spiritual significance. Whenever I experience flickering lights, dimming lights, or light bulbs that seem to just go out at the perfect time, I usually find that to be something of a spiritual message that carries some type of spiritual significance when I think about it. Rarely is it happening due to some kind of electrical problem or a loose wire or something along those lines. Before we get into it, hello, welcome back to my channel, Meaningful Motivations with Tracy Erickson. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson, and on my channel, we talk a lot about spiritual meanings and symbolic significance of objects that you can see in the physical world, or that you dream about at night, or any way that you see images or symbols that seem to have carried some type of significance that you could feel deep within you. If you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications bell if you want to see more of my content. And now back to the topic at hand, the lights that seem to have a message of some type of spiritual significance. So these messages come in forms of flickering lights, lights that dim in and out, or a light bulb that just suddenly goes out. But it's not just those normal, mundane electrical issues. Like I said, it's no loose wire or, electrical wires that need to be replaced or anything along those lines. It's just something strange, like a little surge in energy that happens just in a split second. For example, one time, my husband and I were lying in bed and just about to go to sleep. So the light was off and the room was dark when all of a sudden the light just turned on out of nowhere. It was the light above our heads where you would have to turn it on by the light switch across the room. It wasn't anything electrical, and we turned the light off. It didn't happen again, at least not that night. It did happen once or twice more after that. But at that moment, the first time that it happened, we both looked at each other and we both knew, like a knowing without knowing why we both knew the same, that had to be the people who actually built this house and lived their entire lives here. It was John and Verna, the ghosts of our home. And we both thought the exact same thing when the light just suddenly clicked on. We thought it had to have been Verna or possibly John. And so it's like we both felt some kind of spiritual presence without really saying anything at first. We've actually had many different things happen in this house that led us to believe that John and Verna wanted their presence known here. But they give this loving energy, and so it really never bothered us. I think that they're really just here as a form of the heart of this home. Their energy is just kind of embedded within this place. So when you experience flickering lights or something along those lines, many times if it's not electrical, it could actually be another energy that is in the room, making its presence known to you. So it could be a passed over loved one, an ancestor. It could be a spirit guide, a guardian angel, or even just the previous owners of the home itself. So, whatever the case may be, a spiritual significance of flickering light could indicate some type of spiritual presence that is simply making itself known to you. And sometimes they might have a message of comfort, protection, or even of a warning. But either way, they want you to know that they're there. On the more spooky side, it is also possible that flickering lights or lights that seem to have a mind of their own could also symbolically represent some kind of malevolent energy that is present. And, such as a poltergeist or something along those lines. But in those cases, you may feel a different kind of energy coming through, along with the flickering of the lights. Generally speaking, I would go with your first instinct when it happens. What were you feeling and thinking at the time of the flickering lights? And that could indicate to you if this is more of a warning or possibly more of an affirmation or a confirmation of something more positive. But in general, it is important that you do take note of what you're thinking and feeling at the time of anything that you consider to be a spiritual message. Because usually that message will come through at the time that you are thinking about or feeling a certain way, right? So it could be something that you need to put your attention on so that, you can grow and develop in a certain way, spiritually speaking. So whether it's a ghostly haunting, a visit from a loved one who's passed, or even if it's because of a poltergeist, either way, the flickering light is trying to get your attention. It is trying to get you to become present-minded, because when a light flickers or when a light bulb goes out, what happens is your attention gets pulled right into the present moment, into the here and now. So I think that when you see lights flickering or dimming in your presence, it could just be a sign that you need to be present-minded. Use your awareness to come here and now and get your mind off of whatever it was that you were thinking about that had nothing to do with that current present moment. Because symbolically speaking, light can represent awareness. So when they're flickering or turning off at just the right time to get your attention, it's just trying to bring your own awareness into the present moment. Another type of flickering light could be those flickering lights that you might see from time to time in your peripheral vision. And when you go to actually look at them, you can't seem to find them. Well, I've had that happen before. And one time that I specifically remember was in 2004 when my grandmother was in the hospital and I was standing outside at night with my husband and my brother. And I kept telling them that I kept seeing a light off to the side, but every time I looked for it, I couldn't find it. And we all agreed that honestly, it was probably something spiritual that was taking place. It kind of gave me comfort because I felt like those particular flickering lights, just outside of my vision were there as like, a comfort, just letting me know that energy never dies. These little flickering lights just outside of your true vision are also found in folklore and myth and are known as will-o'-the-wisp. So these will-o'-the-wisps are flickering lights or like a ghost light seen often at night and over bogs, swamps, marshes, and just in the forest, according to this folklore. These will-o'-the-wisps in folklore and myth are basically mysterious spirits, or sometimes even malevolent spirits, who like to make travelers go astray by distracting them as flickering lights off in the distance. Due to the folklore and myth surrounding the will-o'-the-wisp, these are basically a metaphor for something that is deceptive, elusive, or even misleading you. But there's also a phrase, chasing the will-o'-the-wisp, which is basically a phrase saying that you are trying too hard to attain something that is simply unattainable. I would love to hear your thoughts and also your stories about strange, dimming, or flickering lights that you have experienced. So tell me your stories in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for being here and spending your time with me. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.